Hi there. Welcome to the Williamson Watchers Special Election Podcast. We are so pleased to bring you interviews with the current candidates in the Tennessee 7 Congressional Republican primary. Here were the rules. We asked the same set of questions to each candidate. We estimated each podcast would take about 15 minutes, but we allotted a half an hour block for each. We have held the release of the podcast until all the candidates wishing to participate were able to participate, therefore not giving an advantage to any one candidate. We invited all 11 candidates. We're happy to showcase here 7 candidates who are in the Tennessee Republican primary. The candidates joining us are Jody Barrett, Gino Bolso, Adolph Dagan, Mason Foley, Joe Lures, Stewart Parks, and Trace Whittam. Stuart Cooper was unable to record due to scheduling conflicts. We did not receive a response from candidates Jason Knight, Lee Reeves, and Matt Van Epps. We hope you are able to watch or listen to all the candidates. You will certainly get to know the candidates better, become better informed on some of the issues, and perhaps be surprised by a candidate or two. Remember, we are not journalists. We are the Republican Party of Williamson County. Our goal was to have all of our Republican candidates do well and give them an opportunity to speak to you directly on their platform and ideas. They did not disappoint. As a follow-up, we are holding a debate on September 15th, 2025 at the Church of the Nazarene in Franklin at 7 p.m. We hope that you can attend and see for yourself the quality of candidates Tennessee 7 can produce. This debate will be moderated by Fox News and 99.7 WWTN commentator Brian Wilson. You can send us questions for the candidates at tennessee7@williamsongop.org. Now on to the Williamson Watchers. Welcome to the Williamson Watchers Podcast. I'm Peg Raciti with the Williamson County Republican Party. Alongside me is my cohort, ever watchful, Elliot Franklin. Today, we welcome candidate Stewart Parks, who is running for Congress in Tennessee 7. Welcome, Stewart Parks.
Thank y'all for having me.
Sure thing. So I have a very easy first question. Can you please tell us about yourself?
Well, thank you, Miss Peg, Miss Peggy, Miss Elliott Mr. Elliott for having me on y'all's show. I heard a lot of good things about Williamson Watcher, and I'm so excited to be here. My name is Stewart Parks, and born and raised in Middle Tennessee in District 7, and I'm running to serve as the next congressman for District 7. I'm one of the few candidates that's born and raised in District 7, and I got grandparents and family members that born and raised, lived in the district. I graduated from Volunteer State Community College, and went to Ole Miss, graduated with an economic degree, and moved back to Tennessee, and basically made a career out of real estate, restoring historic properties and preserving our Tennessee roots. And then the Biden administration put me in prison for supporting President Trump, and thankfully President Trump pardoned me, and I got my clean record back and ended my imprisonment. And then I decided to enter the race for District 7.
Excellent. Well, and you kind of alluded to that, but maybe you can expand a little bit. What actually has compelled you to run for this seat?
Well, the reason why I'm running is because I don't want to go back to 2020 and the Biden reign of terror, when the Chinese Communist Party released that horrible fake fabricated illness, the COVID pandemic. And that was just horrific, seeing that all these rogue politicians just all of a sudden institute mandates and oppressive measures against a virus that had a 99% survivability rate if you unvaccinated. And then on top of that, with the election fraud that took place, and then with the Biden administration and everything, it's just horrifying. And I don't want to ever go back to those years again. And I know the Democrats, they want to return to those years. And we can't let it happen. We got about less than 5 years. We got less than 5 years to get everything right and prevent them from getting back in power. Because we like to play political volleyball where the Democrats win and the Republicans get a majority in the Senate, and the Democrats try to get a majority in the House, and then we win one election when they win the other. And bottom line, what I'm saying is we can never let um, the Democrats get a majority in anything ever again. So that's why I'm running.
Fabulous. Thank you. We have heard many people give different definitions of conservative. So we would like to know how you define conservative.
That's a great question. I've heard, wide explanations of what people believe mean to be a conservative. My definition is a biblical based. Conservative is somebody that follows the Bible. Same thing it's the same to me. A conservative is the same definition as a patriot. Somebody that follows God's word and God's definition for what a country should be, how people should act and legislate and govern. So that's pretty much my answer.
Excellent. Thanks, Stewart. So you are about to be in a Republican primary, and in Tennessee, as you know, we currently have open primaries. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on if you support. Do you think Tennessee should have open or closed primaries?
Well, my understanding, that's a great question. So my understanding is again, you know, the Tennessee is an awesome model in that, everybody's coming, want our way of life, want to live like us. Um, and I've seen it where I've heard both sides of the argument on this. I've seen it where people come in like want to vote in our election. They just move here and they're like, "Oh, I'm conservative." Then you get to asking them, and they're like, almost like Democrats in Tennessee, like somebody from the West Coast in another state. Even though they're conservative in that state, they come over here and they're like Democrats. So I see why they want to like protect primaries and so forth. I still. Hmm. I don't have like a definite answer yet because I've heard like different sides. I am big on
Yep.
election integrity, and what I mean by that is I want you got to have an ID, you got to be here legally. You can't be illegal voting and participating in our elections. And I'm against voting machines and everything. I want in person paper ballots only.
Great. So that just sort of leads into an election integrity question. So what steps, if any, would you take to help codify President Trump's executive orders on election integrity?
Well, that's a great question because I was involved in January 6th and got thrown in prison over, the reason why that happened, the reason why we were at January 6th was the peacefully protest, election fraud that took place. And that's how Biden got in. He did not win the, 2020 election. So President Trump's right. We need to end mail-in voting. Definitely, I'd take it a step further. We got to get rid of these voting machines because it's way better to prevent fraud and be able to count and verify voting ballots if we have in-person paper ballots. Because these election machines, I mean, these voting machines, they can be hacked, and I don't like them. People don't like them. We don't trust them. So definitely, like, do away, ban mail-in paper ballots. You got to go in person if you want to vote.
Yeah. Thanks, Stuart. I agree on those machines. So, outside of January 6th, and when you were up there, again, peacefully protesting, have you spent time in DC? If you win, you're gonna head up there, and if so, how do you protect yourself from just the environment that a lot of us call the swamp when you get up there and being influenced by them?
Oh, that's a great question. I hear that so many times, and I get asked that, how I'll protect myself and not become one of them. And that's a great question. I have been up to DC. Let's see, I was there the day I got pardoned by Donald Trump, January 20th of this year. I was in Washington, DC in person celebrating Trump's win, and which was, absolutely outstanding. Washington, DC, it's a crazy place, like the swamp. They're real evil. They put me in prison, put many innocent people in prison. I saw, I was in person when Ashley Babbitt was murdered on January 6th. I was in the building right around the corner where that happened. and never forget. I mean, these people hate us. So, with that in my mind, I want to stick with my godly principles that I learned growing up from the Bible, the Christian principles that my parents instilled in me. And I realized like this is, I mean, this is very serious, this position of serving as a congressman, because we cannot go back to 2020 and the Biden reign of terror that we just got out of. So I realize it's very serious.
Thank you. Yes. So I have another swampy question. Do you support term limits?
That's a great question. I've been asked that many times on the campaign trail. I was asked in Benton County and Humphreys County during the debate and forum, and my response remains the same. So when the term limit, the um, I guess intent or the motivation why that's asked is because we got so many, and it follows up with the other question you asked. Swampy people, politicians get in there and get in position, they do a terrible job. The term limits, I tell people, if you don't like somebody, you can vote them out. And there's with the term limit question, I have not heard a definite, term, like in terms of 6 terms or 4 terms, what we're going to limit a politician to. So, you don't have to wait. Let's say, for example, they try to limit it to 6 terms for one candidate or one congressman. Well, you don't have if they do a terrible job, you can vote them out, the next election. You don't have to wait till their term expires. And I'll say this, good politicians are hard to find. They're very rare. So if we do term limits, we may shoot ourselves in the foot by, electing somebody good, and then the term limit kicks them out, and then somebody mediocre gets in. And I'll say this too, you look at district that Pelosi's in, AOC, all these crazy nut jobs, those those districts have the appetite to elect somebody crazy like them. Well, if Pelosi and AOC serve their term, somebody even more far left, even more worse than them can get in office. So I kind of like the way things are now in that we do have term limits in a sense. It's just elections. You just got to show up and vote them out. And that's tough. I mean, people don't vote. It's really sad. People don't participate.
Yep. Well, and this one kind of just goes along with that one. Once a lot of the our congressmen and folks get up into D.C., all of a sudden they become extremely wealthy trading stocks. So, would you support a ban on members of Congress from trading stocks?
That's a great question. I was asked that same question in several forums, and my answer stays the same. I don't need, stock. God blessed me in a great real estate career. And I would support, a ban on Congress trading stocks. I would support that. Yes, sir.
So I know that you have to be asked, but if you were asked to join the Freedom Caucus, would you?
But I've heard a lot of good things about them. I'm open to it, honestly. I got to see what all entails with that. Who all's involved. I've heard good things about it, and I would be open to it. But I have to remember that people in District 7 elected me for a reason to listen to them and serve District 7. So if the Freedom Caucus would, if there came a point in time where they would go against the interests of my district, then I would have to side with my district every time.
No, appreciate that, Stuart. So, we're going to switch a little bit to the topic of international relations, and want you to just speak about any topic that you're passionate about in international relations, whether that be Ukraine or Middle East or tariffs, and just kind of give us your view on that.
Oh, that's a really good question. There's a lot of things happening around the world right now. Um, I want to see peace. I want to see peace all over the world. Now, at the time, with Trump in office, Trump can make it happen. We saw with, the Ukraine-Russian conflict, how Ukraine was just, constantly draining our funds, draining our treasury. Ukraine had no incentive to stop the war because they were making billions of dollars. So that I see that come to a halt, and I definitely will not support, free handouts to countries to go to war or continue their wars. So that's one, topic I'm very passionate about. I actually talked about it today during the Clarksville Chamber of Commerce event that was this morning. Other topics, definitely support tariffs. A lot of the farmers and the people I talked to, the voters in District 7, and quite frankly, everywhere else in the United States, they're getting slammed with foreign competition, like the other country have their economy in such a way that they can outperform American business, and we can't have that. I mean, we got to rule and be number one in the world in terms of commerce and agriculture and all forms of industry. So I do support tariffs in with the intent of helping our American businesses and going after these countries to have unfair economies and doing all this currency manipulation in their own country. And let's see what other. And I mean, I support Israel. Israeli peace in the Middle East. I think Netanyahu's doing a good job in that he's expanding Israel's borders to where it should be. And I think he's the right man for the job and so forth. So that's my response.
Thank you.
So a final question. And so out of all of your life experiences and all of your thoughts and views, but which one of your experiences set you up to be the congressman for Tennessee 7?
That's a really good question. I mean, I tell people I've lived the life of 1,000 people, just, the stuff I've gone through. I'm 32 years old, and, from being at the Capitol on January 6th to, being FBI's most wanted to, going to federal prison and getting a presidential pardon, like my life the last couple of years has changed drastically. And this is what election fraud does. I mean, it's so serious. People died on January 6th. You look at the 11 service members that died in Afghanistan because the incompetent Biden administration that, gave it over to the Taliban. I mean, so many people aren't here today because of election fraud and illegitimate regime that took over. To answer your question specifically, I mean, God's blessed me with a great real estate career, being able to negotiate and do tough deals that helped me and that'll set me up for a successful career in Congress. I mean, I always got to go back to January 6th. I mean, I saw evil face to face in that the election fraud and just how swampy Washington D.C. is. And then, what's crazy is people that were on our side in our party turned on us that day and voted to push the fraud in, and we're still suffering from from the mess and the aftershock from those fraudulent ballots being pushed in. So I mean, I've gone through a lot, and even like going to prison, serving in federal prison in Memphis, you're seeing how incompetent and just how incompetent the Biden administration was in letting inmates just do whatever, and the innocent people that they threw in prison. It's just mind blowing. So that's my response.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. That's an incredible story, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us.
Yep. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for having me.
All right.
Thank you.